How you doing, guys? We are back with another Mandalorian video finally. We are going to get into my thoughts on it and how the season will affect the show going forwards. And we will do some theorizing as well. So stay tuned for that as we will begin shortly. First though, I must ask you to please subscribe and like this video. Check out some of my other videos, like this one where I pit the Mandalorian against Iron Man. You can easily find it in my Versus playlist. Also, check out my other channel, the link will be in the description below, and watch my epic Versus video on the thrilling battle between 500 toddlers and a pit bull. I put a lot of effort into it, and it didn't do the best, views-wise, and I would really appreciate it if you checked it out. So, let's do a little rundown of my thoughts on each episode before I talk about the show as a whole. Spoiler alert for those who haven't finished the show. I thought the first episode was pretty good. This episode established the themes of this season very well. Maybe it could have been better, but it was fun, and it was fun to watch. In the second episode, shit gets down to business. I honestly thought that the arc of Din traveling to Mandalore would last until episode 4 or 5, but they wrapped it up very quickly. I thought it was a great episode. It was fast-paced, exciting, and got things done. The third episode, I actually liked a lot. It was cool to learn more about Dr. Pershing and the New Republic. It didn't develop the bigger story very much, though. It could have been a lot shorter, and the story would have developed the same amount. It was kind of filler. I liked it, but in hindsight, it did mess up the pacing of the season. I thought the fourth episode was fun the whole way through. It was very exciting, and it did move the story forward, but I think it could have done it more if the whole episode wasn't spent on saving the kid. But it was still pretty fun. The fifth episode was similar to the fourth, and had for the most part, one big important part of the story. The children of the Watch and the Night Owls starting to make peace and beginning to work together for common goals. The problem is, with so few episodes being in this season, using 2 episodes while having, for the most part, only 2, maybe 3 important parts of the plot doesn't move the story forward efficiently. And one of those was a flashback, which changed how the audience viewed things, but didn't affect the story going forward. The 6th episode was fun to watch. Love seeing Jack Black. Lizzo was fine too, but I'm happy she was in this episode, cause she's a lifelong Star Wars fan. How can we Star Wars fans hate on another Star Wars fan living our dream? But this episode was fun. I thought it was cool, but it didn't do much until near the end. But the stuff at the end was pretty dope. So similar to the other episodes, it didn't progress the story much, but was fun to watch. Now, the 7th episode was fire. It was right back to where we were in the 2nd episode, moving the story forward constantly. It was exciting, fun, and almost every part was important to the story. The 8th episode did move the story forward a lot, and was pretty good. I had a fun time watching it too. I just expected more. It could have been a lot better. I thought in some areas you could argue it was rushed too. Now let's discuss the season as a whole. The episodes were all fun to watch, like usual. Unlike in the other seasons, this season's pacing kind of sucked. The episodes were good, it's just so many barely moved the story forward, which broke this season because it only has 8 episodes. I really felt like it could have been so much better. Obviously, topping season 2 is very difficult, but this wasn't even close. It ain't even close to season 1. I don't even know what to say to fix the pacing. It was so inconsistent that taking away episodes wouldn't change much. So, they could have dropped an action-packed season, but it would have been 4 episodes. But I think having more episodes and having more to the story would have been better. The biggest parts of this story were Moff Gideon's return and the unity of Mandalore. The unity of Mandalore starts in episode 3 and ends when the season ends. I feel like it could have been done better and more in depth. With Moff Gideon, his return was hinted at more and more throughout the season, and it was cool to see. But maybe it would have been better if we saw him a good amount before the Mandalorians attempt to reclaim Mandalore. We could see him preparing for revenge. We could see more meetings of the Dark Council. We could see the work behind the cloning maybe. I think his return was extremely short-lived, so him being in more episodes I feel is a pretty good idea. You might think, oh well, if the problem of this season was that it had filler, then why would you want more episodes? It would just be filler too. I think more episodes would give more time to further develop the story and characters, which is what this season needed. If we get more filler episodes, then it wouldn't do this. But I think the best way to add depth would be to add episodes, which obviously would create more time to add depth. Not many characters besides Bo-Katan developed either. There were some amazing moments in this though. Ahmed Best, who's one of my favorite Star Wars actors, and actors in general, returning to Star Wars to play Kelleran Beck was awesome. I was freaking out, it was surreal. I think they made the right choice not going with a legacy character, because in most cases, there would be a plot hole with it, or it would just be unrealistic. But nonetheless, awesome scene. Moff Gideon in episode 7 was amazing, just awesome to see him again. And the Thrawn discussion was dope, and the whole Dark Council scene was amazing. The scenes on Coruscant were so amazing. Bo-Katan was cool this season, but she did have a lot of spotlight. I mean, her having more than Grogu makes sense, since his character has limited ways he can develop. obviously because he can't talk and babies aren't known for complexity. Din's character arc might have honestly been nearly completed in season 2, so I get that for now there isn't much to do with him, but they could have done more with Din maybe. Grogu did a lot of learning, which makes sense because he is a foundling. The scenes of Grogu flipping around, I must say, look so weird. Maybe I found it unbelievable, or maybe it was cheap CGI and a puppet being thrown around, but it looks so cringy and fake. Like, compare that to Yoda jumping around in Attack of the Clones. It didn't look very believable for him to jump so high, and the CGI was just trash. It wasn't horrible, it's just something that bothered me a bit. Grogu was fine this season, had some funny moments. He isn't as cool as he was in the other seasons, but it's almost certainly because he isn't as mysterious as he once was. I think him not using the Force excessively makes sense, as Jedi usually don't, and Luke would probably teach Grogu to use the Force when needed. Obviously, Grogu isn't going to do that all the time, but I think he would pick up on it a bit. And Luke was also most likely trying to teach Grogu to be more compassionate and less violent, which is what old Jedi are taught. So him not going ham and force pushing and choking people all the time does make sense. Din was cool this season. Him and Bo are a cool duo, and she was pretty damn good with the Darksaber. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter, but I think it would have been better if Din and Bo were co-leaders rather than Bo being in charge alone. It was cool seeing Zeb too, by the way. Also, I like the pirates a good amount. They were fun to watch. The Beskar covered stormtroopers were pretty cool. I think they were definitely better trained than normal troopers, but I can't confirm that. The Purrgil were cool as well. And I love seeing battle droids again too. The Praetorian guards were dope as hell. Loved seeing them. Would be cool to see Imperial or Shadow guards, but this was dope as hell. They were pretty menacing and good fighters. I thought they should have maybe not been beaten so easily by Din and Grogu. Moff Gideon's suit was pretty cool, and the fact that he was cloning Force-sensitive versions of himself was a bit lackluster, but cool nonetheless. Really wish we saw one in action. Paz Vizsla's death was pretty nuts too. Okay, can anyone explain to me why Grogu's name, after being adopted by Din, is Din Grogu? Shouldn't it be Grogu Jaren? Like, we don't usually see first names becoming another person's first name in Star Wars, if I am correct. But it's whatever, I guess. The Darksaber being broken was pretty nuts, but it does make sense. And the Mythosaur was dope to see. And I loved all the monsters and creatures in the season, like usual. I don't think it's good to rely on cameos, but man, I'm not gonna lie, this season would have been a lot better if it had them. So, this season wasn't that great overall. It was fun to watch, but the story was not very good. Visually, it was good, and the music was pretty good. So, overall, a 6.5 out of 10 for me. Maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower. So, let's do a little speculation. For a while, I thought Moff Gideon was the main villain of this show, while Thrawn is the main villain of the Mandoverse, and would be the big bad in the movie that will most likely finish it off. I also thought when the show ended, Moff would most likely be killed. I thought it started and ended with him. So let's discuss if he's really dead. So, a pretty large ship crashed into the base. It seemed to mostly hit the other parts of the base, and not where Gideon was. Gideon's armor is a Beskar alloy, which means the Beskar is mixed with another metal, maybe cortosis or something. So it's definitely pretty durable, and it doesn't have many gaps in it. Maybe his neck is slightly unprotected, but I don't think so. Even then, he could position his helmet to protect it, but this would cause another area to be more exposed. And he would probably have a tough time doing this with the fire surrounding him. So he had a very strong, very effective suit, which could definitely withstand fire, but this much? Maybe. I think he would definitely have to leave sooner rather than later, but I think he could withstand the fire. But if he stays in it, he'll get crushed by debris or suffocate or eventually be burnt to death. And even if my theory is scientifically unrealistic, this is Star Wars, so yeah, it can happen. I don't know if they're ready to pull Thrawn out yet, and the story would be improved by adding Gideon, so I think it would be a good choice to bring him back. I also think that there's more to the cloning stuff, especially because Gideon acknowledged that other Imperials were interested in the project, but they say he was obsessive over it. I think the project started with Snoke or Palpatine, like we see in season 1. Then once they solved that, Moff used the research for his own gain and made clones of himself. He's definitely quite egotistical. Moff also wouldn't have made it that easy to kill all of his clones, which he spent months or years making. It was just a really dumb moment in the story. I think it's also possible that the clone we see with his eyes opened and maybe more survived. They would have had plenty of time to escape, and he was conscious. But I don't know, that whole reveal was weird. I think the Mythosaur is most likely going to be tamed by Grogu and Din next season, but there are many more things that could happen next season and beyond. And I'll make another video talking about the 4th season eventually. So please tell me your thoughts on Mando season 3 by commenting, and also tell me your theories for next season. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this season of The Mandalorian, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Please like this video, subscribe, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.